These are all chickpeas that I grew last year in my garden. One of the only things I was able to harvest, and I didn't use any of them to eat. I let them all dry out so that I could use them for seeds this year. So if any of these germinate and I'm able to grow plants, those will technically be my grandchildren, and pretty excited about it. Like I said, it's one of the only things I was able to really save. The pest pressure was so bad that I barely harvested anything else. I did get some potatoes, but they were so small that I couldn't save them for seed potatoes, unfortunately. But I'm pretty excited to grow these this year and see how they do. Obviously, this is a black variety, and really hoping for the best for these little babies. So there's this weird little mound out here, and I'm going to be using all these rocks in the garden, so I'm taking it apart. I should have shown you what it looked like before, but I kind of just started doing it, you know, just living my life. But I will try and find, I'm sure I have some footage of it somewhere in one of the like before tours or whatever. So I'll try and insert that so you can see what it looked like when it was still all together. But I'm just pulling out all these rocks so that I can build little in-cap beds next to my raised beds. So they'll be in-ground beds, but these will be the borders for them, kind of like the berry patch back there. There go the dogs. Really loving the sunshine, all of us. So I'm just going to keep pulling these apart and getting these rocks out, and then eventually I'll bring my wagon up here and start bringing the rocks back into the fenced-in garden section. Also, no bears yet. This is my potato bed, and there are strawberries along the outside of it, all the way to the end. And then I have 3 rhubarb crowns in this section of the bed. Excited to see how everything does. Here's my other tray of potatoes. They're continuing to scab over. I need to get all the supplies to put my potato tower together. I have the actual like metal fencing out there, but I need to get the soil and the straw. So I'll get these planted later this weekend once I have those supplies, and then all my potatoes will be in the ground, and hopefully they will produce a ton of potatoes this year. That little guy's been banging on my chimney. I thought it was a woodpecker, but now that I see him, I think he's actually a flicker, which is actually pretty exciting. They're really cool birds. And it's pretty fun to be seeing what happens here in spring and just kind of seeing what comes alive. It's been a pretty fun experience so far. Can't wait to see what this one's gonna be. Some of these other ones are starting to get close to having some little blooms as well. But I think this one's going to be the first to open up. I'm excited to see it. I went ahead and watered this bed and the one behind me. So it's just staying really warm. And so I am going to go ahead and get some mulch on these beds to keep in some of this moisture. I am seeing some germination of some of the things I planted, but I'm hoping that keeping it moist will get my carrots going too, because I'd really like to get those on their way. It's just been so hot that it's been hard to keep things damp out here, so it's definitely time to mulch. This stuff I'm using is garden straw, and it's this really fine and broken up straw, which is great because it will also break down in the bed a little easier, compost in, all that kind of stuff, which is good for long-term health of the soil, things like that. I also have quite a lot of deciduous trees around, so the other thing I'm going to try and do is rake up and collect some of those fallen leaves and start using that as mulch too, just because it's free and also it's a really easy way to integrate nature and things like that back into your beds, which is always good. You want all that natural, like life, organisms, all that kind of stuff. Are mulched. You're sitting in a bed, and this one doesn't even have soil in it yet, but that's what I'm going to be doing the next couple of weeks, is getting this bed and that bed over there filled. And then these will all get mulched as well. A lot of this mulch is also going to be used to create a potato tower, which I'll record all that for you so that you can see my process for that. I have some potatoes in ground, and then I'm also doing the potato tower because I want to just kind of compare how it goes. Last year I grew all my potatoes in, I think, 8-gallon containers, and it went fine. They were all like new potato sized, but I'm hoping to get a bigger potato harvest this year, so I'm kind of spreading out my potatoes and trying a couple different things just to see what works best here. Are mulched. You're sitting in a bed, and this one doesn't even have soil in it yet, but that's what I'm going to be doing the next couple of weeks, is getting this bed and that bed over there filled. There's just herbs in this one. So everything's mulched and gonna start popping up. I may add a little bit more on here. I'm just gonna see how things do with germinating, but you don't need a super thick layer of mulch. In the fall you do. I would recommend it more in the fall, but I do kind of a thin layer this time of year, and then see how that does, and then you can always add more. I've got an onion popping up here. I'm kind of sad that that's the only one, to be honest. There's onion. Oh wait, it's not the only one. There's one more. but they're kind of all along this outside edge, so hopefully I'll start seeing more soon. And then I did water the strawberries today, but I didn't water the potatoes today. But I'm gonna water all of it again soon, and then get more mulch put down. So yeah, that's just where I'm at. You can see my rhubarb crowns. Here, I'll get closer. There's one and two little rhubarbs popping out of the ground. Oh, here's the third one. There are three. They may not be able to stay here forever. This spot may be too small for them, but because I had to pivot so hard this year with my growing space, I'm kind of fitting things in where I can for now. But this is the giant tomato bed. It is 4 feet by 13.5 feet. So it's the biggest one. It's going to have all the tomatoes, and I ordered this cool tomato specific kind of like cover thing that acts sort of like a greenhouse and also helps trellis them. And I did that because apparently here it gets warm enough for tomatoes, but they sometimes have a hard time ripening. So I'm just using that as kind of assurance that they will ripen. I still obviously have to get this area dealt with over here. This is that fencing is the outline of the potato cage, and I'm going to put that little tower in that corner once I have all the rest of this cleaned out. Eventually I'm going to put grapes here. And then back where those pots are, I would like to get raspberries. I'm doing a lot of foraging in my own yard because I'm not, super familiar with what's growing here. But there are a lot of raspberries popping up now. So I'm going to look at transplanting some of those into a fenced area because the grizzlies will eat everything. So anything that I don't want them to eat needs to be inside a fence. So yeah, I will want to be transplanting those eventually as well. So along with the tomato cover that's going to go over here, I'm also getting a trellis that's going to go between these two beds. And along these edges, I'm going to be planting cucumbers, melons, and my squash so that they can climb up and over the trellis. It's a 7-foot tall trellis. And then obviously it's also up on the bed. So it'll be, I don't know how tall in reality, but I'm really excited to see just the aesthetic of that. I think it's going to look so nice out here with things growing in. I'm going to continue to get things cleaned up on the other side as well, just so the view looks better. And hopefully soon that tiny house will be sold, and then that'll be out of the way too. But I'm slowly but surely working on things as much as I can, and just can't wait to see what all I can grow here this year. I don't know if I've mentioned, but this is Grow Zone 7B, which is, I think, the lowest grow zone I've ever been in. And this was it was a crazy winter with all the snow, as I'm sure you've seen if you've been watching my videos for any amount of time. But the temperatures themselves actually didn't get as extreme as they can. Normally, I guess it's like -15 here in the winter, and we didn't get anywhere near that level of cold this season. So I'm interested to see what a more like traditional winter will be like here next year. Probably colder, but less snow is kind of the general consensus of what I'm hearing. But excited to see how that goes, and just spend a whole year here and see all the changing of the seasons and all the things that are continuing to pop up. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff growing out there. Some of it is definitely roses, some of it is definitely thimbleberries, some of it I don't know what it is yet. So I'm interested to see kind of what comes up and just what there is to forage just right here on my little parcel of land. Tons of elderberries everywhere, obviously these, but it's also popping up over on that side of the fence, that big tree right there, that's all elderberry. And there's a lot of stuff popping up just here on the other side of the fence too. I am still planning to fix the fence where it's fallen down over in that corner. And once I can tell what all of this is out here, I'll start deciding, what of it I want to keep and what of it I want to kind of clear out to use that space for other things. And the other thing I have to start looking at is getting some electric fencing to go around all of this fencing and then also, you know, the fencing of my garden area just so that the bears don't break in to get all of my food. That would be, I mean, pretty cool to watch, frankly, but not something I actually want to experience. You proud of your stick, bud? Are you proud of your stick? He keeps hitting me with it every time he runs by me.